Picture this. 40,000 years ago, a child sits by a dying fire in a cave high in the Croatian mountains. Outside, wind cuts through valleys that echo with the last calls of Ice Age herds. This child carries DNA that will soon vanish from Earth. And yet right now, fragments of that world pulse through your vein. Because the story we thought we knew about Neanderthals was never the whole story. For over 300,000 years, they dominated Ice Age Europe and Asia. Master hunters who survived glaciers, volcanic winters, and predators that would terrify us today. Then, in what amounts to a geological blink of an eye, they were gone. Scientists have spent decades hunting for the smoking gun. Climate change, disease, a violent war with our ancestors. But buried in caves across 3 continents lay clues that would rewrite everything we thought we knew. In laboratories around the world, researchers began extracting something extraordinary from ancient bones: DNA. So well preserved, it could tell us not just how Neanderthals lived, but why they died. And what they discovered will change how you see your own reflection in the mirror. This is the story of humanity's greatest mystery, and it begins with a single tooth. The Altai Mountains of Siberia, frozen peaks that scrape the sky, hiding secrets in caves carved by glaciers. In 2010, researchers descended into Denisova Cave with headlamps and brushes, not knowing they were about to crack open a genetic time capsule. From layers of ancient sediment, they extracted fragments no bigger than your thumbnail. Teeth, bone chips, pieces that had rested in darkness for 50,000 years. But when these fragments reached the lab, they began to speak. Ancient DNA is like a molecular fossil. Every cell contains a library written in 4 chemical letters, A, T, G, C. Usually, this library crumbles within decades. But in these frozen caves, the genetic code survived, waiting to tell its story. What scientists found in those sequences was shocking. The first revelation: these Neanderthals carried something called runs of homozygosity, long stretches of identical DNA on both copies of their chromosomes. It's a genetic signature that screams one thing: inbreeding. But this wasn't just one cave, one isolated group making desperate choices. From Croatia to Belgium, from the Caucasus Mountains to Siberia, the pattern held. Neanderthals everywhere were trapped in small, isolated bands, forced to mate with relatives generation after generation. The DNA painted a haunting picture. Population sizes measured not in millions, but in low thousands, sometimes just hundreds. Family clustered buried within walking distance of each other, fathers, daughters, uncles, cousins, their bones telling the story of a people running out of options. But why? What force could reduce the masters of Ice Age Europe to scattered fragments? The answer lay in a second, even more startling discovery. Imagine Europe 60,000 years ago. Ice sheets, open steppe, and migratory herds. Neanderthal bands moved like islands of warmth in an ocean of cold. A valley here, a cave system there, 20 or 30 people at a time. Picture one such camp: a fire sputtering in a shallow cave, children huddle close, a hunter sharpens a worn spear, an elder tells stories that hold memory itself. 20 lives, a whole world balanced on the shoulders of a few. In groups that small, chance becomes deadly. A harsh winter takes the wrong hunter. A fever strikes the only master toolmaker. Mutations that would fade in large populations don't fade here. They linger. They spread slowly, relentlessly, like poison in a well. Across sites, genomes showed the same story. Y chromosomes narrowing, male lineages vanishing, mitochondrial lines tightening like a river forced through a canyon. Family clusters buried within a short walk of each other. Reconstructed population trees told it plainly, not expansion, contraction. Neanderthal society folding inward into shrinking refuges as the world shifted. And then, footprints, not their own. Strangers in their valleys. About 50 to 60,000 years ago, Homo sapiens pressed into Neanderthal lands. We arrived not as conquerors with better weapons, but as networks with numbers. Where Neanderthals lived in scattered pockets, we came in waves. Where their groups struggled to reconnect, ours shared ideas over long distances. When one camp failed, another could help. The DNA shows what happened next. We met them. We had children together. Today, people outside Africa carry a small but persistent Neanderthal inheritance, but the mixing was one-sided. Neanderthal DNA flowed into our growing populations like water joining an ocean. Our DNA barely flowed back into theirs. Climate flickered, ranges of prey shifted, even light competition for food and shelter hit small bands like a hammer. And critically, their social circles stayed narrow when they needed to widen. Ancient DNA captures their last chapters. A young woman with a Neanderthal mother and a Denisovan father, a child of two vanishing worlds, kin buried meters apart, women moving between bands in search of partners, men tied to familiar valleys as the circle tightened. This isn't a story of conquest, it's a story of arithmetic. And the final equation, the one that sealed their fate, was written in their DNA. So what ended the Neanderthals? After centuries of debate, ancient DNA gives the clearest answer. They were too few for too long. In small populations, every loss cuts deeper. Every winter hits harder. Every random event carries weight. When our wider networks and larger gene pools arrived, we didn't need to fight them. We simply out-survived them. Picture the final camps. Every child precious, every skilled adult irreplaceable, every elder's memory a lifeline. A broken spear tip, a storm that shifts herds 50 miles away. The math turns against you, one winter at a time. And yet, Neanderthals didn't simply vanish. They became part of us. Genes that help fight disease. Genes that shape skin and hair. Traits that hardened our immune systems to Eurasian pathogens and cold. The last Neanderthals didn't die in a cave. They live on, in us. Every time your body recognizes an infection, adapts to cold, or endures at altitude, you carry a whisper of their survival. Their extinction isn't just their story. It's a warning about isolation and a lesson about connection. Because diversity is survival. Networks are strength. And the human story has always been many strands braided into one river. And what if the same forces that ended Neanderthals almost ended us too? That story comes next. Subscribe, because the next discovery may rewrite what we think we know again.